Yo, how's it going, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. So, as we know, Ian Machado Garry versus Carlos Parates just got announced for UFC Kansas City, a very intriguing fight for the welterweight division. I know right now that Carlos Parates is a super hyped up fighter, but I think that he kind of did skip a couple of people in front of him without a doubt, and that might be just because this guy has such an exciting fighting style. I mean, a really smart positional southpaw. I mean, what else could you want from like a guy from Carlos Parates? Is exactly what the UFC wants. A guy that stands and bangs and gets highlights. And right now, Carlos Parates has all the momentum going on for him. And honestly, he does deserve to move up a couple of people ahead of him that are in the rankings because of his fighting style. It's just so exciting. He's gonna go ahead and fight Ian Machado Garry, a guy who previously was a win away from probably fighting for the title. We last saw Ian Machado Garry whenever he fought Shavkat Ragmanov, and was a competitive fight, but obviously Shavkat Ragmanov was able to edge a little bit more of the rounds and was able to win that fight. Now, looking at this fight, I do honestly think that Ian Machado Garry is a little bit more of the complete fighter. I mean, we've only seen Carlos Parates have some pretty insane knockouts in the UFC so far. We haven't really had a fighter that tests his durability or tests his dexterity or even his decision making whenever it comes to grappling and wrestling. But I think that Ian Machado Garry could pretty much test some of those aspects on Carlos Parates, and it's going to be up to Carlos Parates to see if he's even capable of delivering on some of those aspects that we really haven't seen from Carlos Parates just yet. If we look at Carlos Parates' record right now, I mean, he's like knocking everybody out. I mean, KO, 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 and I mean, the list just goes on. Ever since he stepped into the UFC, he's just been knocking people out. Mitch Ramirez, Trevin Giles, Charles Radke, Li Jing Liang, Neil Magny, they've all been victims to Carlos Parates, and Carlos Parates very threatening style in the UFC. I mean, this guy's one of the, you know, craziest southpaws that we've seen in the UFC so far. I mean, right now, I think that he has the capabilities to probably be in the top five or maybe be a win away from fighting for the title, because if he gets a win over Ian Garry, I mean, they're probably just going to set him up to fight somebody else in the top five. If he gets a win against that other somebody, he's probably fighting for the belt. And I think that the UFC is definitely putting a lot of hope into this guy, into getting that belt, because he would be a big draw for the UFC, a ginormous draw in the UFC. And he's fought in some pretty big organizations as well. Fought at one championship. He fought at LFA. So we all know that Carlos Parates has what it takes to push, that next level in the welterweight divisions. Obviously, right now being 31 years old, he is in the physical prime of his career, also being part of the Fighting Nerds. I mean, this guy just has it all right now. It kind of does seem like it for the UFC to just absolutely push someone like Carlos Parates in the organization. If we look at Ian Machado Garry, I mean, he wins fights. He was 15-0 at one point. He lost to Shavkat Rakhmonov, arguably the boogeyman of the entire welterweight division. But 27 years old, literally right now in his peak. Right now, he is just coming into the physical prime of his career, and he's had some really solid wins. Had a really solid win against Daniel Rodriguez, a fight that I didn't expect Ian Machado Garry to win. Went to beat Neil Magny by decision, absolutely obliterated Jeff Neal, and beat Michael Venom Page. In that fight, he kind of got a little bit exposed. I'm not going to lie. Ian Machado Garry said that he was going to stand in the 50-50 and trade it with Michael Venom Page, and that obviously did not happen. Ian Machado Garry showed in that fight that he does have some grappling, he does have some wrestling, and is able to win purely by decision making. And that's probably, the main thing going on for Ian Machado Garry right now. We know that he cannot outstrike Carlos Parates. Carlos Parates in the striking is going to absolutely chew out Ian Machado Garry. I do not expect Ian Garry to come into this matchup, come into this fight to try and stand and bang with Carlos Parates, because if he does, he's going to lose. The one thing about Ian Machado Garry that I will give him praise for is that he is not a dumb fighter. He is not a dumb guy. He is not taking dumb chances. He is going to try his hardest to make every best decision in the octagon, which I admire him to, for. I think in the last couple of years that he's been in the UFC, especially the last year, he's been getting a lot of flack because of his character and just the way that he's perceived. But one thing we could honestly say about Ian Machado Garry is that he is not a dumb guy and he is not a dumb fighter, and he has a very, very smart training team. And they all set him up with, some really, really good drills, which reflect in the fights. I think that Ian Machado Garry, the number one thing going for him into this main event with Carlos Parates is his decision making. That's going to be the main thing, that if he does win the fight, is going to be because he's able to make good decisions against Carlos Parates by grappling and wrestling and finding exchanges in that way. Let's just say that Carlos Parates does beat someone like Ian Machado Garry. Let's go ahead and see the rankings, because if Carlos Parates, who's way down here, he's ranked number 13 in the welterweight division, he's going to be fighting number 7 Ian Machado Garry. Like I said, he did, skip a good number of people in front of him to fight Ian Machado Garry. I think that he could probably fight someone like Joaquin Buckley, maybe challenge someone like Leon Edwards, I think that those fights are probably favorable for Carlos Parates if he does manage to beat someone like Ian Garry. I think that right now the welterweight division is going towards a steep, going towards a incline in terms of popularity, and I think that Carlos Parates is definitely paving the way. Obviously, there's other fighters like Joaquin Buckley that have pretty entertaining styles as well. De La Madalena, Shavkat Rakhmonov, that are just action-packed fighters that are going to bring it whenever they step into the octagon. If Ian Machado Garry beats Carlos Parates, I think that there's only a couple of options. I don't think they'll match him up against Joaquin Buckley. Really don't think that. Jack De La Madalena's probably not going to fight Ian Machado Garry. He's about to get that title shot against Bilal Muhammad. I think that the person that we could probably see Ian Machado Garry fight, to probably get that one next win towards a title shot is probably someone like Kamaru Usman. I think that Ian Machado Garry, if he does manage to beat someone like Carlos Parates, I think he's probably going to make a comeback or be the opponent for Kamaru Usman whenever he finally does have that comeback fight in the welterweight division. I think that Kamaru Usman is probably going to try to fight the winner between Ian Machado Garry and Carlos Parates. I could already hear it. Kamaru Usman, for some reason, just likes to talk the most shit from the sidelines and doesn't fight. But I 100% do believe that whoever wins between Ian Machado Garry and Carlos Parates is going to get called out by Kamaru Usman. I could already hear it. I could already see the freaking news on Twitter. I could already see Kamaru Usman making an entire 48-minute video with a title that says, challenging Carlos Parates or Ian Garry. That's honestly what I do think that's going to happen if Ian Machado Garry, does get managed to fight against someone or beat someone like Carlos Parates. Probably going to get called out by Kamaru Usman. If he does beat Kamaru Usman, 100% they are going to give him a title shot, or maybe he'll be like a win away for Ian Garry. I think that if Carlos Parates does get past Ian Garry, maybe he's a win away as well from fighting for the title. But without a doubt, going to be some big fights for them, whoever wins this matchup. If I had to make one clear prediction, look, I love Carlos Parates. I would love to see him win. I would love to see Carlos Parates win. I remember that I made a short couple of months ago when nobody knew about Carlos Parates. Whenever he was just about to fight Li Jingliang, he had that good knockout against Charles Radke, and a lot of people didn't really know who Carlos Parates was, which was kind of insane because those people that are actual like MMA heads, they would know that he fought at one championship and he performed pretty damn well. He impressed me back in the day, or a couple of years ago, whenever he did fight at one championship, and I was freaking stoked to hear that he was coming to the UFC. I made a video, I made a short, and it absolutely blew up. It went viral. It's the most likes I've ever gotten in a short. I think I got like 400 likes on that short, and it was crazy, and a lot of people found out about Carlos Parates that way. I think I would love to see Carlos Parates win, but it's just something about Ian Machado Garry just having a little bit more in his tool bag, with him being a wrestler and with him being a grappler, him having good decision making. able to compete with someone like Shavkat Ragmanov at sometimes, made Shavkat Ragmanov look human in some situations. You know, it kind of, I don't know. It's kind of scary. I'm kind of leaning towards Ian Machado Garry to win this fight, like 55% towards 45%. But Carlos Parates, you know, in the striking, if Ian Machado Garry makes a mistake to go into 50-50 with Carlos Parates, who is a really, really smart southpaw, Carlos Parates is going to knock his ass out. Ian Machado Garry cannot go into this fight trying to strike with Carlos Parates, because if he does, he's going to get fucked up. But that's the way I see it, ladies and gentlemen. Let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. As always, it's a pleasure. Peace out and have a good one.